Let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you may be joining us from. Welcome to today's Partnering Power Tools webinar for the 2020 Bio Digital event. It's my pleasure to be your host. My name is Willie Reeves, and I'm the Director of Partnering Products and Services at Bio. We have a lot of great information to share and cover today, so let's dive right in. But first, we always want to give a huge thanks to Merck for their sponsorship of the Bio One-on-One Partnering System for BioDigital. We're always grateful for the support of the Merck team, so thank you so much for your support. Bio is also very grateful for the support of our sponsors, especially our Helix and Double Helix sponsors, Amgen, Bristol Myers Squibb, Genentech, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, Merck, and AbbVie, Pfizer, and Sanofi from our Helix. Thank you for your continuing support, not only of bio events, but for innovation and cures around the world. And in case you're not quite familiar with BIO, we are a number of different things. BIO is a trade association based in Washington, D.C., representing the entire industry. We are also an event organizer with partnering events all over the world and currently running 70,000 plus global meetings per year. So we'll be looking at some features of the BIO one-on-one partnering system, the system that powers all of those meetings around the world. But first, let's cover a few quick housekeeping items. First, we will have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. So you should have a questions box in your GoToWebinar panel. You can click in there and submit questions throughout the webinar. And secondarily is that we will be recording this webinar and distributing the slides. So if you've registered or if you're participating, you will receive an email with a link to the recording as well as to the slides within 1 or 2 business days from now. So let's take a look at what we're going to be talking about today. I'll kick it off with some new and exciting things we have going on for BioDigital. We'll look at a couple of new partnering system features that we've recently implemented to help improve your experience. We'll take a look at some specific strategies and power tools that you'll want to keep in your arsenal to maximize your ROI and be as effective as possible for the event. We'll take a look as well at some meeting scheduling strategies, and then toward the end, we will also have our question and answer session. So let's go right in, starting with what is new at BioDigital. So at a high level, there's a lot of information on this particular slide, but there are a few important points here. From the several thousand people who have registered, we see a high representation here of executive and senior business leaders. There are also a lot of small and emerging companies, and really it runs the gamut across the entire life sciences industry. We have a really wide representation of different company types, very executive senior audience, and so BioDigital is somewhere that you should absolutely be finding yourself from the convenience of your home office between June 8th through the 12th. And I mentioned before how the Bio One-on-One Partnering System is very global. That's definitely the case with our attendee base as well for the event. So we've got right now 45 countries and counting that are represented. Some of the top delegations are here. We've got Japan, Canada, Germany, South Korea, the UK, France, Switzerland, Australia, Spain, really spanning the entire globe. And registering for the event will allow you to connect with this entire international audience. We're also really excited to announce that the education program is now available. So we have a combination of live and on-demand sessions that will be available throughout the week of BioDigital, that June 8th through the 12th. And if you check, we'll look at this a little bit later, but you can see the exciting details with details on speakers and moderators and so forth on bio.org. So that you know, we will also be adding links to all of the different sessions in the Partnering Systems calendar section in the weeks to come. But definitely check out bio.org now for the details to begin planning your experience. And part of that experience are a couple of the different focus areas. These are several of them, but not even an exhaustive list. We have 17, so oncology, rare disease, we have programming featuring COVID topics as well. So there's really a great variety of things, great variety of topics that you can cover through the programming at BioDigital. We also are really thrilled to have leaders from the FDA and other leading innovative companies offering diverse perspectives on a variety of different topics. So definitely take a look at bio.org and check out the thought leadership that we'll have on display for the event. And we're hearing a lot of excitement from companies who are excited about biodigital, maybe as much or even more than we are, especially the ability to meet with potentially even more companies in this new virtual environment with the 5 days of partnering that we offer for the Biodigital Week. And speaking of partnering and the different types of companies that we have participating, some of those will be participating in our Startup Stadium. We are excited to announce this week our 30 finalist companies for Startup Stadium who will be pitching their products and technologies. And these companies will be available in the Bio 101 partnering system for you to meet with. And a reminder, a good portion of the companies in the partnering system are from small and emerging companies that are working on really innovative therapeutics all the way up to the largest of companies as well. So really running the entire gamut. We also are very proud of our academic campus sponsored by Horizon, and there is a sampling of specific groups and institutions here that are some of many academics and research institutes that you can meet within the partnering system. And we also, FYI, have a tag now in the system that says Academic Campus. So if you're looking for these companies specifically, you can do that from the Partnering Systems Advanced Search. And if you are new to BioDigital and want to see the latest happenings and keep updated on what's going on, you can see all of our announcements on our BioDigital homepage, which is sort of your one-stop shop for news on the event. So you'll see everything from Academic Campus and different weeks out reminders with tips and tricks on things that you should be thinking about as we get closer to the event. So definitely stay posted to the website for the latest details. And now we'll do a quick overview of virtual partnering. First, quick recap on what virtual partnering is for the Bio Digital event. Couple of things here. So it's the same Bio one-on-one partnering system that you may have used before at the Bio International Convention or other Bio partnering events, but it also includes some enhanced features. And some of those things are if there are 5 days of partnering with 24-hour partnering opportunities, no, you do not have to take meetings at any time you don't want to. You have full control over that in your partnering calendar. We've got great convenient features to make it easy for you to see meetings in your own time zone so that you have an easier planning experience. And it operates under a self-scheduling model with your preferred meeting solution. So it offers lots of flexibility for you. Bio isn't supplying a particular video software or anything like that, but if you have a Zoom or GoToMeeting or whatever it may be that you like, or if you hate video calls, you find them awkward, and you'd much rather have a conference call, you can insert any of that information into the partnering system and choose the best time for your meeting. And we'll also have available the links to online sessions and company presentations, which we'll look a little bit more at in detail. Now, let's look at some of our best practices. If you're on this advanced webinar, you probably are already following our sort of standard recommended best practices. Things like customizing your meeting request to the receiving company, not titling your meeting request meeting requests, and so on. So if you are not familiar with some of those best practices, or perhaps you're a bit new to partnering, recommend that you check out our intro to partnering video or our handy 3, 4, 5-minute tutorials that we have on the homepage of the partnering system. But here are a couple of more advanced best practices. First is that if you see that you've got accepted meetings but they don't have any mutual availability, that means you won't be able to schedule them. So your first option there is to open more calendar availability. When that little no mutual availability icon goes away, then you'll be able to schedule the meeting. Second is if you are rescheduling a meeting in the system, it was already scheduled and you need to move it for some reason. If you're using a unique link to a video conferencing platform, be sure to reschedule it in that system as well. And then if you're entering your phone number for a meeting location, just keep in mind that you should include your country code and your full phone number. So for example, if the other company may be from one of our international companies outside the United States, you can make sure that they'll be able to reach you quickly. Now, I'm really excited to share a few partnering system features that we have developed recently and added even since last month's webinar. So one is that you'll be able to save time in a single click by just marking off 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on your partnering calendar for a particular day to help you save time from kind of clicking all of the different time slots. We have Theoretically, you could have up to 240 meetings if you had a meeting in every time slot. We don't advise or recommend that. You should sleep, you should eat. Those things are important, but this will make marking off your calendar a little easier. You'll also be able to share your contact details. That's live in the system now as well, and I'll be demonstrating that feature. And the ICS export feature, this has always been in the system, but we've recently enhanced it with an ability to view, in addition to your partnering meetings, also your programming sessions and personal events. And we'll take a look at all of these specific items once we get into our system demo. Now, a couple of reminders, sort of some etiquette type of items for virtual meetings. Remember to try to look at the camera when you're speaking. We all know, we're kind of all operating in this virtual environment. It can be a little tough, but looking at the camera helps you, the other people, feel that you are engaging with them and kind of looking them in the eye. Keep in mind that it's still a professional environment and you'll want to keep professional attire on, even though you may be working from your dining room table or your home. If it's possible, try to have a quiet setting. If you know that the garbage truck comes by every day at 10 a.m., you might want to close the window around that time. Just kind of keep those things in mind to help have the best possible meeting environment for you. If you have a PC headset, that really helps on the sound quality. Sometimes you may join meetings and perhaps someone is just speaking into the mic on their laptop. Sometimes that works great, but sometimes it can cause a little bit of sound issues, so you may want to use a PC headset if possible. Please mute yourself when not speaking. That helps just reduce echo and keep things really organized. And then, of course, Ethernet, if you're able to plug into kind of a hardline connection, that's always going to be a little bit more stable than Wi-Fi if that is an option for you. All right, now let's look at a live demo in the partnering system. So I'm going to switch over into my browser here. Okay, so let's look at the new features that we were covering earlier more in detail, as well as some of these advanced tips and tricks to help you get the most value out of the partnering system. The first thing I want to mention, starting on the home page, is your colleagues' availability. So maybe you and some of your colleagues participating from your company are all going to be joining BioDigital, but perhaps you're having difficulty adding them to meetings. Well, that could be because maybe they have no time slots listed as available in their calendar. So in this left panel here, you can see all of your colleagues from your same company profile and how many time slots they have available. So if, for example, let's say, I'm going to have some meetings with my colleague Bernard, but I know that he needs to open his calendar, you might want to shoot him a note, or perhaps if he's given you permission, you could also update his calendar from the calendar section. Just keep in mind the time zone differences, but the system will make it easy for you to see those things. Couple of other things here on the home page. We have recently added the on-demand sessions and presentations links here. So clicking into those will take you into the BioDigital schedule and agenda page. And you can see here's the list of loads of company presentations that we've got going on. You can view the details for any of those, as well as in the sessions, on-demand sessions section. You can also click through to read more details about the variety of different sessions that we have going on. And this area continues to be updated on a daily basis and is great to visit. Again, as we get closer to the dates of BioDigital and the links become available for you to join those on-demand sessions, those will be listed in your partnering calendar. We also have, of course, some tips and just quick reminders here. If you're on this advanced webinar, you're probably familiar with those things, but I also wanted to point out the virtual meeting solution guide that we have provided as well. So while Bio isn't using any specific virtual meeting solution or platform, we have put together a guide for you with kind of all of the major platforms with some simple step-by-step instructions on how you may need to set up meetings in those systems in case you're not familiar. Now, let's talk a little bit about notification preferences, and you can access those by going up to your headshot here and clicking Notification Preferences. So this area allows you to change the different emails that you receive from the partnering system. You can turn those on and off. I have all of mine enabled because I'm the director of partnering, and so I want to make sure I know what's going on with Bio. But you will have a few of these switches by default that are toggled off. Please note everything in here, except for this one that says iCalendar Updates ICS. The rest of them all control emails that you receive. These would be for any meeting requests, whether it's meetings that you're a participant in or your entire company's meetings. One important note here is please, please, please leave this one enabled, the iCalendar updates. What that does is it pushes meetings onto your Outlook calendar automatically. So please leave that one switched on into the green here. Note that that switch doesn't work retroactively. So if you turn it off today and start scheduling a bunch of meetings and get to June 8th, it's not going to push all of your meetings then onto your calendar because it works on an active basis. So it's good to just check your notification preferences. Maybe you switched them off for another conference or your assistant turned them off for something, just to make sure that you got everything listed here that you may want. And this here is the kind of the master switch with the email address that's associated for your account. So if I turn this off, that turns all of the notifications off and shuts it off full stop. Now, let's look at a couple of other items. I want to show you another great new feature here, which is the ability to share your contact information. So we'll go back up here to the headshot. And just as a quick reminder, if you see a gray silhouette instead of your headshot, you should click on it and click Edit Your Personal Profile and then upload your picture right here where you see mine. But what we're going to talk about now is the ability to share your contact information. So that is down here in the bottom of the delegate profile. You can insert your email or autofill your username and insert your telephone number and then be sure to include your country code there. Quick note, your contact information is not searchable, it is not sold, it is not exportable in the system. Bio really worked hard to protect your privacy. So to that end, if you get an email from someone saying that they have the BioDigital attendee list or you can buy it, that is false. It is fake news. It is actually a hoax. Unlike COVID, they don't. So please don't respond to those or click on them because those are spam messages just trying to get you to put in some information or pay for something that they don't in fact have. So to show you what happens with the delegate contact information, we'll pop quickly over here into the Message Center. So let's say you click on a particular meeting request that you're interested in and you want to share your info with that company to simplify your meeting follow-up process. Just click the Share My Contact Information button here and it will ask you, are you sure? To be clear, your contact information that you put in there, it'll get posted in this meeting request thread. So any delegates from your company or from that other company that are participating will be able to see the information. So it'll appear just like this. And if you click the button but haven't entered information, the system will just prompt you to go into your delegate profile and do this. All right, so let's jump into the company profile quickly. So if you're here on this webinar, you probably also already have a thorough brief description and company description and have listed your company type and so forth, which is great. A few things here that I wanted to point out are the COVID company types. So of course, Bio has recently hosted the Coronavirus Collaboration Initiative and the Coronavirus Summit. And to that end, we want to continue supporting companies that are doing work on COVID. So you'll see there are a variety of company types here specific to COVID. So please select any of those that may be relevant for your company. And no matter what you're working on, if you have drug assets you want to discuss, whether those are small molecules, antibiotics, vaccines, any of those sorts of things, be sure to add those assets in here with your Manage Assets section. And I would just take a quick look, take a minute or two to update your development phase. Maybe you have some assets that have either gotten knocked out or they've moved into phase 2. Just make sure that you include that information in your Assets section. Now let's look at some features specific to the advanced search, which I say this all the time. If you've been on other webinars, you've probably heard it, but can't emphasize enough. This basic search bar here is great for doing just that, a basic search. But we have many more powerful tools here in the advanced search section, whether you're looking through companies or delegates, assets, market, products, or services. So we really encourage you to use these advanced features. They're there to save you time, honestly, just to save you time and make this process easier for you. And one of those features that is often overlooked is the ability to search for new companies or people who have registered recently. So you would just scroll down in the advanced search here to company registration date. You can click in a specific kind of time range, or if you want to choose a particular day, click custom filter. And then you can just get a calendar. So maybe you want to see, companies that have registered just since May 1st. Perhaps that was the last time you logged into the system. So you can do that and see that we've got over 300 companies here recently registered, as well as all of the delegates, assets, and so forth. So definitely take advantage of that particular filter option. I also wanted to point out the ability to search for assets. In talking to companies throughout the year and understanding the partnering value proposition to them, I sometimes hear people say that they primarily use the companies tab, which is great that the system allows you to reach your goals that way. But the asset search also here will allow you probably to save a little bit of time. So you can look for specific types of assets, and we've got a really wide array here. We'll look more at that in detail in a second. You can look at assets that target a specific indication using particular MOAs or technology. So would really encourage you to use this section of the advanced search here. Now, speaking of assets, I'm going to jump really quickly back into the slides to talk a little bit more about the assets that we've got right now in the system. So looking over here at the asset types on the left side, as you might expect, there's of course a lot of small molecules. We've got peptides and proteins, antibodies as well. We also have cell and gene therapy tools, companies working on vaccines, and a lot of other categories. So really would encourage you to use those advanced asset filters. And then we know that companies are always excited to partner on early stage assets, things that are preclinical, moving toward phase 1 and so forth, but it really, really runs the gamut here. So especially if you're working on early phase assets or if you're looking at in-licensing opportunities, trying to expand your pipeline, definitely take advantage of those advanced search filters so that you can get access to the assets that are making up this chart. Now, another item from the advanced search here, I'm going to click back into the companies tab. If you scroll down, one question that we get occasionally is, how can I export my bookmarks? So you may have your bookmark section here and you've kind of flagged different companies or assets or people that you're interested in reviewing later. So to export those, it's actually not from the bookmark section. You would just go into the advanced search here. And let's say you want to export your companies that you've bookmarked. So just scroll down to where it says company bookmarked and say yes, search now. And so then you'll get that specific list of companies that you've bookmarked, and you can export those to Excel easily here. And you would just follow those same steps in the advanced search on the relevant tab if you want to export bookmarks from any of the other areas like delegates or assets, for example. Now let's go into the partnering calendar and look at some new features here. So the first thing I'd like to highlight is a couple of new features. One is the Mark as Available from 9 to 6 button. So what that allows you to do, for instance, let's say I click over on my Tuesday here and I just click Mark as Available from 9 to 6. So it's going to open up automatically all of those 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. time slots in my local time zone, which for me is Eastern time right now, so I'm in Washington, D.C. Remember that everyone will always see the Pacific time, which was our original conference time from San Diego, and then the system will automatically detect your time zone here. So this is just really convenient. If you kind of want to open up your business day, you can go through the different days and just open up those times and then make easy changes by clicking on the time slots if you want to switch one particular time slot on or off. Couple of other things we have recently added here in our sessions and education topics, information on our interactive sessions. So you can click on any of these to see kind of some basic information. The links aren't available just yet. Those will come out closer to Bio Digital Week, but you can begin adding this information into your calendar. Keep in mind that when you go to add a session, the system will just ask you if you want to be available. So for partnering meetings during that time. So you'll click yes if you would still be open to having partnering, maybe instead of attending this session, but click no if you want to make sure definitely that your calendar is blocked off so that you can attend that session. One more calendar feature is the ICS export feature. So you'll find that here under the export button if you click ICS. So a couple of things. You can export these files into Outlook or Google Calendar or whatever calendaring program that you're using. And meetings are automatically pushed from the system as they get scheduled, rescheduled, or canceled. So this export option, you don't really need to use this if you're primarily attending partnering meetings, because that information is going to push onto your calendar. But maybe you've got a lot of personal notes or different programming sessions and those sorts of things, and you want to include those on your Outlook as well. So you could always use this option here so that you can see those items. Just remember that any rescheduled meetings or kind of last minute meeting changes, that's going to push into your main Outlook calendar. All right, now let's take a look at some scheduling strategies within the partnering system, and we'll jump to do that into our message center here. So first, as a reminder of the no mutual availability indicator here, the little red triangle, what that means is that there is not overlapping calendar availability between all of the participants that are listed on the meeting. This updates automatically when you or any other participants update their calendar. So if you see this red icon, means there's still no mutual availability and you have to make a change, or maybe someone from the other company will need to update a time slot in order to get mutual availability so that the meeting can be scheduled. And you can always use these filters on the left side of the message center. As you get closer to BioDigital, you may have dozens or hundreds of meeting requests coming in, so you can always use these filters to quickly find the specific request that you're looking for. But let's look at what happens if you try to schedule a meeting that does not have mutual availability. So maybe I'm interested in this one here. I'm going to click the schedule button. Quick note, your view will look a little different than this. You won't have the message thread on the side, and you may see more red boxes than yellow. It just displays a little bit differently for me as an administrator. But we see here, as I'm scrolling through, I don't have any green boxes, and that's because there is no mutual availability. So here, what I'm going to do is kind of scan and say, okay, I'm going to look for a 1 if possible, because that means that there's only one person who's sort of a blocker for that particular meeting. And so let's say I click on the 11 a.m. slot here. It looks like my colleague Nicholas is unavailable at that time. But you know what? Nick called me earlier today. We kind of chatted about this, and he said, yeah, I can be available from 11 on through the rest of the day. So since I have his permission, I can just click here. It'll open up his calendar, and I've clicked on 11, so the system has jumped me right to 11 o'clock local time here. So I'll just open up that 11 o'clock slot for my good colleague Nick, save it here, and then now I have a green slot. So now I can go and schedule this meeting. So I'll click on the time slot here. Click enter your own virtual location. Couple of quick things, important notes. So as you're entering in your virtual meeting location information, this main box, the required one that has the little red icon on the side, this is where you're going to want to include your main link if you've got a link to a Zoom, GoToMeeting, or whatever it may be. Or perhaps you're entering in your phone number or conference line number. That main information is going to go in here. So I just have a document on the side that I keep open, and I'll just put in my link here that I'm using. And then any additional information, passcodes, dial-ins, country dial-in codes, all of that sort of stuff, you just put that in this sort of details box here, this second box. Now, couple of notes with this. If let's say this right here is my personal meeting room, so you can just use that same link over and over again, which is very convenient. If you're doing that, you'll probably want to check the box to save the location. You'll only see the option for your particular company. So what that means is that next time you go to schedule a meeting, you can just click in the drop down and use this same information over again rather than needing to paste it in again. So I will click use this location. I'm going to proceed here, and in the regular user flow, you would just get an extra screen as a confirmation. You would just click confirm and schedule there. So now my meeting is scheduled. Everyone, I can't show you this, but my phone's just vibrated, so I have my meeting notifications and my Outlook and everything. So that's great. But now let's see, for example, maybe you don't have a particular time that was available. In that case, you might propose some times that perhaps the other party could open up. You can always use the reply only button and shoot a message over to them to offer up times that might be good. Just keep in mind that you'll want to be sure to mention the specific time zone so that everyone is sure that they're talking about the same times. Now, what happens if you need to reschedule a meeting, something comes up, your boss has scheduled the meeting, or whatever the case may be. You need to reschedule something. So in that case, we can use this same meeting here as an example. Use the reschedule button, and this is a little different from what you see at most bio conferences where meetings are scheduled on site. So you don't need to use the request reschedule button because it's a self-scheduling conference for BioDigital. So kind of ignore this button here. You will click reschedule, and then what you'll see is kind of that similar view as you had before. If you have any green calendar time slots that are open here, so I'll just, for example, maybe we need to move this a half an hour earlier, and Nick has said that that's okay. So I'll go and update that for him. And then now, okay, let's say I want to move this to my 10:30 Eastern time here. Enter your own virtual meeting location. And if you remember, I just saved that location a minute ago with the checkbox. And so I can just click on it, boom, everything populates. Here we go, use this location. And then you would click the confirm button after this and it gets rescheduled. A couple of supplementary notes there. When you're scheduling or rescheduling meetings, if you are using a personal meeting room, so that might be something like zoom.com/, Bob Pillay, or, gotomeeting.com/Willie Reeves, whatever it is, that personal room with a link that's always live, you don't need to go back into that system and update it or reschedule it or anything like that. If you, however, are using a unique link, so you're kind of scheduling a different meeting in your virtual meeting platform for every meeting that you have for partnering, just be sure to go back into your Zoom, your GoToMeeting, or whatever it is and update that scheduled meeting time so that it is still accurate. And if you have questions on that process, again, we do have a virtual meeting solution guide, again, on the home page of the partnering system. But ultimately, if you have questions about your specific platform, you'll want to reach out to the customer service for that special platform. All right, so we have covered a lot here. We're going to jump back into the slides and then talk about some of the important dates that you should keep in mind as you are preparing for BioDigital. So we hope that you have already, if you're participating on this webinar, that you've already registered for the event. If not, you can definitely do that on bio.org, and also consider registering additional colleagues or encouraging your colleagues. So that just is going to help you expand your reach out to more companies more efficiently in the partnering system. You can already begin requesting and scheduling meetings, and we've recently added those sessions to your schedule. And as you add those things into your partnering calendar, the links will be made available again a little bit before BioDigital Week, but you can always go onto the BioDigital website to see the more detailed description and speaker and moderator information, headshots, and that sort of thing. And we'll always have that info listed and encourage you to start looking at that now. We wanted to let you know as well, we're going to have another webinar. This one will be on what's trending at BioDigital. So that one is going to be talking about some of our new detailed education highlights and some other planning tips. Definitely encourage you to join that on Thursday, May 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And we'll have a slide reminding you of that here in a moment. As you get closer to the event, definitely feel free to go on social media and talk about it using hashtag BioDigital on Twitter or elsewhere. And we've also got a handy marketing toolkit. If you are giving a company presentation, for instance, and you want to highlight that on LinkedIn for your company and post it, that's fantastic. You can use our marketing toolkit to get some social media customized images just for that. BioDigital is June 8th through the 12th, and then keep in mind that through mid-July you'll be able to also review on-demand sessions and still view the company presentations and the Startup Stadium as well. So even after BioDigital Week, you can continue that follow-up. Speaking of follow-up, inside the partnering system itself, keep in mind that once we have ended June 12th, so going into June 13th, you'll still be able to log into the system, view your meeting history, follow up with any companies that are already in your message center. And just to be totally clear about this point, what that means is that once we hit June 13th, this new request button is going to go away, and your ability to make new meeting requests within the system will go away because the event will have ended. However, anyone that is in your message center already, so any of these companies, you'll still be able to go back and reply only and continue those conversations and continue the follow-up. So just to be clear on what you will be able to do from within the system. All right, and I talked a little bit earlier about that next webinar with the education highlights and planning tips. So definitely RSVP for that, and I think we'll be including a reminder about that webinar in the follow-up email from this one, which will include this video, a recording, as well as the slides. We have a question of how do I embed a video on my partnering profile? So to do that, you'll click Profile here, scroll down to the bottom right-hand corner with Content. So you can either upload files but to embed a YouTube video, for example, the little arrow, embed video here. And then once you go to your YouTube specific video, there is an embed little tab on there, and you just paste that link here and then include the name of your video. All right, Janet is wondering how many people have registered so far for Bio 2020. I believe the latest and greatest is approximately 3,000 so far and counting. That number continues to grow, which we are all really excited about. Are service providers allowed to participate in biopartnering? Yes, absolutely. That is definitely possible. You can certainly still register. We know that sometimes with service providers, there can be a little bit broader range, but we definitely recommend you to especially target your meeting request if you're a service provider to improve the possibility that you will have those meeting requests be accepted. Is there a quick link for the guide document to conferencing platforms? Yes, there is. Here on the home page, down in the Help and Tutorials box, we have the virtual meeting solution guide. Will there be a recording? Yes, there will be a recording, and you will receive that if you've already registered for this webinar. Let's see here. I read that there's a meeting request limit. Can you confirm what this means? Yes, Kelly, we certainly can. So each company receives by default 150 pending outgoing meeting requests. So what that means is in your message center, if you open your dashboard and are looking here, these numbers will be higher as we get closer to BioDigital, of course, but your outgoing pending number is really what you're going to be looking at. That can be up to 150. So as soon as a meeting request gets accepted, declined, scheduled, cancel, then it no longer counts against that 150. Is the message center pushing messages to personal emails or simply alerts of a message? So what happens when you schedule a meeting or when a meeting changes? Again, looking at those notification preferences and being sure that you have those on, which they are by default, you'll get email notifications. So that will say, this meeting has been scheduled, and it will give you the details, for example. Also, if you receive, so for example, if someone writes you a reply-only message here from the other company, the setting that controls that, to be sure you're aware, again, is in notification preferences, and it says meeting messages here. So that's kind of the reply-only message if you're a participant in a meeting, or the reply only if you are wanting to get those for any meetings from your particular company. What does export company calendar versus individual mean? Great question, Howard. So when you look at those options, if I go to export or print, just my individual calendar, that's only my stuff. So I click this, for example, right now, get this here, and so it's only going to show me my meetings. The dark blue here is a scheduled partnering meeting. The yellow is a personal note or a personal event, and then the teal is any programming that you may have added. So when you do that individual calendar option, that's only you. If you choose your company calendar options, that's going to be you plus all of your colleagues that are participating in your company profile. And just as a reminder, for the company calendar, that only is going to show the scheduled meetings, because otherwise it would become probably very difficult to read if you have a bunch of people participating from your company with potentially all of their notes on there. How long is Bio 101 partnering open after June 13th? Yes, Joe. So the system itself will remain open for at least a year after BioDigital. So there's lots of time to do that follow-up. Just as an additional reminder, once we pass June 12th, that is when the ability to send out new meeting requests, that will disappear. But you'll still certainly be able to log in and have lots of time for follow-up. does each attendee get 150 outgoing meeting requests? So it's a per company limit, per company profile limit. So for example, for a bio with all the shared colleagues, it's 150 per company. What is the best method to add more colleagues to our team profile? So to add more people in, that's not done inside the partnering system. It means that those folks need to register, or perhaps you register for them. So to do that, you would go over to the BioDigital website and go into our registration section, and then you will be able to register for the conference there. So I would just send that information over to your colleagues. Partnering accounts are created within 1 to 2 business days of registration. So as soon as you've got that login information, you can jump into the system. Can you upload a presentation? Yes. So that's also going to be in the profile section. Anything that you want to upload and attach to your profile, that's going to be here in the content section. How can I become a member, and what sort of benefits is that entitled? So we definitely have a great page for that at bio.org/member, or you can also feel free to email us at, I believe it's member@bio.org, or visit the member section on our website, and we would absolutely love to have your company join as a member, which comes with loads of benefits, including but certainly not limited to discounted rates on registration for BioDigital. What types of information do companies have to upload on their profile? So none of these fields technically are required on your company profile. However, you should include as much as you possibly can. If you go into the partnering system and the search, you'll see that companies have included lots of different sorts of things: financial information, background in your company. So just all of those fields you see in the profile section, I would put as much of that possible in there. What's the main difference of the assets and products under the company profile? Sure, Reed. So assets, we can kind of, actually the search will be a good area to sort of show you the differences. So I'm going to show here in the different sections. So assets, this is mostly what people think of when we think of sorts of drugs, biologics, small molecules, cell therapies. These sorts of things go under assets. So most of the time, if a company is looking to in or out license something, whether it is a new project that they're working on or a biologic and similar, that's all going to be assets. Market products you can think of as things that you would find on an exhibit floor or a trade show floor. So those could be materials, they could be chemicals, devices, diagnostics, lots of different things like that. And services can honestly be almost anything. It could be legal services, consulting, anything. So that's sort of the basic differences between those sections. If a partner does not respond to a request, can you cancel it yourself, or do they need to reject it? Wonderful question here. So as you're getting closer to BioDigital and making sure that you're sending out those customized requests, if you start to kind of get close to that 150 cap, or you just want to make sure you've got your schedule firmed up, first I would recommend just gently replying only. Don't do this every day. Please don't go in here and reply only every day and ask the person to reply. It will make people very annoyed. But once you're getting kind of 2 weeks out, maybe 1 week out from the event, going in here and just saying, please review, let me know if you'd like to meet. If you would like, however, to cancel an outgoing meeting, you can also always do that by clicking cancel meeting button here if that one was scheduled, as long as that is an outgoing meeting request. Let's see, are all educational sessions available to everyone, and do we need to register for each session? So yes, for all of the educational sessions that we were talking about earlier and that you can find here on the BioDigital website, that is available to all registrants of BioDigital. And you do not have to pre-register for each one of these sessions. If you want to go in and you see something that pops up and maybe you missed it before, you can always just add it to your calendar and join it with a link. You don't need to pre-register for each individual session or each individual company presentation. If I'm registered for more than one company, how can I manage different meetings? So there is kind of a process for that. It can get a little complicated. Mo, I would recommend shoot our team an email at biopartnering@bio.org, and we can provide you a little bit more specific guidance. Someone said they tried to update a presentation, but it didn't work, did not finish uploading. So I think what you may be talking about is uploading something in the profile section here. As you're uploading files, they have to be less than 10 megabytes. If they're over that, then you may want to include a link to that larger file. Probably within your description section is the best bet. Are you able to follow up on a meeting request if someone has not responded? Yes, you can use the reply only button to do that. Rahul, can you please show a demonstration of finding a specific clinical indication? Certainly. So in the search section here, if you go, you can always use the basic search, but if you want to be more detailed, you can go into advanced search, and then here under primary therapeutic areas, if you click select, you can either start searching for a particular disease here using the box, or you can jump into using the very specific detailed disease tree here and select as many as may be relevant, and then click apply and search now, and then it will bring you that specific list of companies. Is there a maximum of meetings that a company can schedule? Just going to clear this search out here. So theoretically, the max for any individual person is 240. Again, that's literally if you never slept or ate or did anything but have partnering meetings. You shouldn't do that. It is very bad for you. However, per company, so it just depends really on how many people are registered and kind of how efficient that you're able to be. If you register on June 7th and the event starts on June 8th, that's going to really limit your opportunities of getting those meeting requests out, because people will already have their schedules largely firmed up. So the earlier that you register, get active in the system, the more likelihood that you'll be able to have more meetings. And then a couple of other topics here. We don't have too much time left. There's a question here about the registration and cost. So if you go again to the Bio Digital page here and click the register button, it includes the rates. So the standard rate is $950 per person for bio member companies and $1,200 for non-members, and then there's an additional small fee for company presentations. But all of that information is here on our registration page. What is a time slot for a meeting? Yes, well, time slot is a 30-minute block of time. So when you go into your partnering calendar, like this right here, which is midnight Pacific or 3 a.m. on Monday Eastern, this is a time slot, each one of these. So across the 5 days, there's about 240 of those. So the time slots are what you want to make sure you open as many as possible. And we've already seen people in the system scheduling meetings, being really active. One gentleman I noticed had kind of an alternating pattern. So it was not available, available, not available, available. He was building in time to his calendar for maybe outside meetings or kind of just to take a break, get a glass of water. That's one technique. Some people prefer for them to be back-to-back. You can really use whatever you want, but just make sure that you've opened up as much availability as possible. And don't forget that there are the 5 different days of partnering here. So be sure to update your availability for each of those days. Don't just update Monday and then leave Tuesday through Friday as blank. All right, couple of other questions here. More questions about programming. So registrants to BioDigital, as we get closer to the event, will have a login to an educational content portal that will allow you to efficiently browse and filter and attend those interactive and on-demand video sessions covering a variety of different therapeutic areas, as we were talking about before. There will also be the ability for audiences to participate in a text Q&A with speakers, and the sessions will be available for at least 30 days after the start of BioDigital. And then again, there's that May 28th webinar at 1 p.m. Eastern that is going to talk about all of those things in more detail. So we would definitely encourage you to plan on joining that. So in that webinar, you'll hear a lot more detailed information about the programming portals and how that's going to work. There's some new things that are still going to be coming out. So we're really excited for you to join that. Is it common to schedule only one 30-minute time slot, or do most companies prefer an hour? So the standard and what the partnering system uses here is 30-minute meetings. That especially tends to be preferred for introductory meetings and even for follow-ups and so forth. If you wanted to do an hour, there's not technically an option in the partnering system. What you would do is schedule in your virtual meeting solution that meeting for an hour. Make sure that next time slot is blocked off, that second time slot of your hour, and then kind of continue that meeting. A few other questions here. If I travel to a time zone that's different than what I chose upon my initial login, will my scheduled meetings be affected? So the times of your meetings never change unless you change them or another meeting participant changes them. What changes, perhaps, is your Outlook calendar or the time zone that is detected by the partnering system, but that will always be in your local time zone. And on that note, we would recommend for this biodigital experience and for navigating your partnering meetings that you use your desktop or laptop computer rather than a mobile phone. The mobile app isn't fully optimized for this kind of entire virtual experience, so you're really going to get the best experience, and it will be easiest for you if you're using a larger device like a laptop. It will also be much better for you to use video and those sorts of more interactive functions. If I'm unable to find a company or delegate from someone that I know is partnering, what should I do? That generally means either they haven't registered for BioDigital yet, in which case you may want to shoot them a message and tell them to do that, or their registration maybe is extremely recent. Like if you registered 2 seconds ago, you won't yet have a partnering account because we go through a data verification process. And the reason for that is to make sure that no one, we don't have a random person that adds a fake email address or their Gmail and tries to jump into your company profile. So we have a security vetting process there. We know that your business development information is very important, and so we take a little bit of time to protect that info. Is a virtual meeting location provided? So again, Bio is not providing or endorsing any particular virtual meeting platform. You have the flexibility to use any that you like or to insert information on your conference call line and those other sorts of things. So there's lots of flexibility. One other possibility, actually just jumping back to that last question about if someone, maybe you can't find someone that you know is registered. So if that's the case, one occasional possibility is that company's profile may be unpublished. Thank you to Christine from my team for reminding me to say this. So here at the top of the company profile, you see by default, every company's profile is published. If you click unpublished, what that means, and you get this red label, what that means is that you're effectively invisible in the system. Your company can no longer be found. People will not be able to send meeting requests to you. So do make sure that no one has accidentally gone in from your company and clicked the unpublished button. If so, it's quickly fixed. Just click published again. If we want a 60-minute session rather than blocking the next slot, can we book a back-to-back meeting with that company? Ellen, yeah, you could do that. So if you get the first meeting scheduled, you can send another request to that company and say you'd like to continue the time, or the other company could send a request back to you. That is certainly an option that is available to you. We have a question here about the virtual, any option of a virtual exhibit hall. So Bio will not be offering a virtual exhibit floor for BioDigital. If you haven't yet been contacted by your account manager, we suggest that you reach out by May 15th and speak with them about transitioning a portion of those exhibitor funds to a partnering registration, digital advertising opportunity, or perhaps to receive a refund. And we are running up on our time here, so it looks like we're going to have to wrap up our Q&A, but here in a few moments, I will also show a listing of different email addresses that you can write to if you still have additional follow-up questions. And speaking of follow-up questions, there are always people behind the buttons and behind the system, and some of those people are a fantastic bio-partnering team, Christine, Lorenzo, Mackenzie, and Nick. It's always a pleasure to work with them, and these are some of the folks that you'll be talking to on the partnering team if you have questions in the lead up to or during the week of BioDigital. And everyone, thank you so very much for joining. If you have questions about the particular topics like registration, you can always email register@bio.org. We've got the registration links here as well. A couple of quick reminders. Again, this webinar will be emailed out. We'll have a recording emailed out, as well as the slides, so you'll get an email with that within the next business day or so. And please feel free to forward that around to your colleagues, share that information. This is certainly by no means a private situation. We want to help everyone have as many resources as possible to make the most of their week at BioDigital. And just last, as a reminder that of what we're all working for, toward cures and therapies and treatments for COVID-19 and for everything else, every other disease, all sorts of human ailments to solve environmental issues. And that's why Bio is here, and that's why we're putting on BioDigital. And we hope that you will make the absolute most of the experience. We're looking forward to you having a fantastic experience and partnering and with our great programming. Don't forget about the May 28th webinar. We'll be sending out reminders for that so that you can RSVP. And of course, that one will be recorded as well if you are unable to attend live. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to your participation at BioDigital.